Today, we're talking walking bassline. Stay tuned. All right, when I was a kid, I don't know, 16, I was in jazz band in high school. We were lucky enough to have a jazz band. And I was sitting in the corner, you know, plugged into the PV, whatever was at the school with my Kramer Focus or whatever it was, looking at the chart and playing, what do you play when you're a kid in jazz band? Killer Joe? And you're trying to chunk away at those jazz voicings you just learned. And my jazz teacher, Mr. John Incy, he was one of the teachers there. And I look back and boy, he must have been really frustrated teaching these little punk kids because he was a real jazzer, you know. And but he was a great guy. And he came over to me and he would be like, you need to learn how to comp, Shane. You need to learn how to comp. You need to learn how to comp. First it was Freddie Green, you know, this kind of stuff. That kind of style, the old school. Then he got into Joe Pass. You need to listen to Joe Pass. You need to know how to comp. He can play walking bass lines and chords at the same time. And I was like, what? No, nobody can do that. So one day, Mr. Incy comes over to me and he goes, hey, Joe Pass is playing at the jazz club. It's like an hour away. And I'm going to take you there next Thursday. But it is a club and they serve alcohol. So, you know, I'm a teacher. So I have to get permission from your parents. So my mom goes, yeah, you can go with them. So Mr. Incy picked me up, I remember. And we went to the jazz club. And Joe Pass, as he lived and breathed, was sitting, you know, 6 feet away from me, closer than what this camera is now. And he was just him on a bar stool with his arch top. I don't remember if it was a Gibson or Ibanez back then. And he's plugged straight into the PA. And he proceeded to just mesmerize the audience and blow everybody's mind, including my little 16-year-old brain. And I got to witness firsthand this skill of walking bass lines. That is as good as it gets, Joe Pass. Watch some videos with him. That's the master. That's all you need. And he was the master. He could sit there for 2 hours and just entertain everyone with just a guitar. And man, that is a hard skill to do. When I first got the gig with Hall & Oates, and Daryl Hall says, hey, I got something. Can you come up and play for my mom's 90th birthday party and just play solo guitar, you know, like chord melody stuff for like 2 hours? And I'm going, wow, that's really hard to do, man. I don't have those kind of chops. I can fake it if I have a real book. But those skills saved me. And I was able to cobble a set together and entertain Daryl's mom for a while. But somebody like Joe Pass, master. And there are other guys too, but he's the one that comes to mind. And before we get into the lesson, I found this that night, that memorable night with Joe Pass. I got him to sign my ticket, and it ended up going through the washing machine that night. Unfortunately, it's a little worn, but I've kept it all these years. And a few years later, this guy goes up to Mr. Incy and goes, hey, you know that kid you brought, that guitar player is supposed to be really good, the kid in your school? And Mr. Incy goes, yeah. He goes, here, give him this cassette. And it was a bootleg of that night, which I have. Don't tell anybody. All right, let's get to the lesson. So I'm going to show you guys the essentials using a 2-5-1 progression in the key of G. And if you don't know these chords, maybe the lesson is a little advanced, but I'm going to show you the voicings anyway. We're going to take a sec. So in the key of G, a 2-5-1 is an A minor 7, a D9, and a G major 7. I'm playing the A minor 7 like this, bar chord. Usually I play it like that if you watch my videos, but we need these fingers for our bass. It's Mr. Bass. First finger's barring the 5th fret. Ring finger's playing the 5th. That is the 5th string, 7th fret. That's the E, the 5th of A. And then my 5 chord, I'm going to use this D9 voicing, dominant voicing. That's middle finger's playing the root, 5th fret, 5th string. First finger's playing 4th string, 4th fret. That's the major 3rd, D sharp. And then my ring finger's barring the C and the E. That's the 3rd and 2nd strings on the 5th fret. And then for the G major 7, pretty stock, garden variety G major 7. Root is played with my first finger, 3rd fret, 6th string. I'm not using the 5th string. 3rd and 4th fingers are playing the 4th and 3rd strings, 4th fret. And then my middle finger's playing the D up on 3rd fret, 2nd string. So before we get into it, yes, I'm using thumb and fingers. You don't have to. You could use pick and fingers. It's going to be hard for you to do this with just pick. It's not going to sound right. I'm just telling you right now. So you need some facility to be able to pull this off with your fingers, but it doesn't take much. You don't have to be, Segovia to do this. And over the years, I've gotten a lot of gigs and sessions because I could just do a simple variation on. It's a good skill to have, so work on it if you don't have some of that already. You don't need much. All right. So first thing, if we just take this chord progression, it's 1 bar of A, 1 bar of D, 2 bars of G. It sounds like this: 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that first. Pedal with your bass, your thumb. Very simple. Gets boring really quickly, all right? So that's the first step. The second step, first concept to do this, I think of it as, I call it speed bumps. Let's put speed bumps in that progression. What the hell are you talking about, Shane? Check it out. 2, 3, 4, 1. There's a speed bump. Little speed bumps. That's step 1. Get that. They're accents, but speed bumps. It's more fun to call them speed bumps. Second thing we're going to do to dress it up and build our walking bass line thing is to add the concept of approaching from a half step above or below. Let's start with below. And what does that sound like? Now you don't need the whole chord. You can just use the note, but below A. Every chord that I'm about to approach, I do it from a half step below. And if you mix that with the speed bumps, you get this: 2, 3, 4. So now it's starting to sound like something. You could also use that half step concept, but approach it from a half step above, and that would sound like this: 2, 3, above A, G, below A, above. So when you mix all of that together so far, we get this. It's getting there. It's missing something. It's missing a line. We need a walking line. And very simple. Here's the first one. It's a very simple move. If you just add this, that's A, B, C, 5th, 7th, 8th fret, and the 6th string. We can use that, and we get this. So I'm going to play the bass line, first note, and I'm going to do a speed bump. So all I did was half step below, D. Now we need to resolve to the G. So here's the next move. So I'm on the D. You go down to the A, back to the D, then a half step to G. So slowly it's like this. That sounds pretty good. Now, there's another chord we can add in the mix, and that is the 6th chord. In jazz, a lot of times for a turnaround, that's called a turnaround, we would have a 2, 5, 1, 6. So in the key of G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's E, and we're going to plug in the old Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze one. Works great here. And what does that sound like in the mix? Just add some more tension to pull back to the 2 chord. But we need a move to get there. So what I did was G major, B, D, chromatic half step below, and then here's another move to get back to the 2. It's the same one I did. Now, a note about feel. Notice how sometimes I'm pulling. That's what real upright bass players do if you ever watch a real jazz bass player. And sometimes, they'll do that, and you don't want to make it too obvious, but it adds to the feel. It adds to the swung eighth effect. Swung eighths are what makes jazz, right? And if you just played this eighth notes, no, you got to swing it. So a swung eighth is essentially a triplet with the first 2 notes tied. So this is a regular eighth note: 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and jazz. It's swung, you know. Same thing with the bass lines. Now, there's another thing you can do called a tritone sub. We're getting a little more advanced. So for the 5 chord, a substitution you could do for that is called a tritone sub. So the tritone interval would be a flat 5. So a flat 5 from the D would be that, A flat or G sharp. So you could play a dominant 7th chord or some kind of altered chord before you get to the 1, and that will resolve. It sounds, John Coltrane used to do this all the time. 5 tritone sub, half step. Essentially, it's just a half step above. But that's another concept you could think of. And this is a great thing to work on. It's fun. A lot of singers will hire you if you can do just a fraction of this stuff. You don't need all the heavy chops, but just get a good feel going, and it's worth your while to pursue. Hey, if you like this, give me a like, subscribe. I'm going to come up with some more lessons soon. I'm about to leave to go on the road again, but I'll try to do some stuff from the road. And as always, please, if you haven't, subscribe. It gets a little frustrating because I see how many people watch the videos and they don't subscribe, even though they watch the whole thing. It doesn't cost anything. It really helps me out. The ones where I don't get a lot of subs, they don't get hardly any views, and it's kind of frustrating for me to keep doing the videos. But I hope you like it. And, I love hearing your comments and ideas, and I'll see you soon. Terrio out. Take care.